So the mind games and the mental preparations and all this. This is what we're gonna basically be discussing today. And please ask a lot of questions. I want you to understand these things. There are these little tactics that you can use, and you can just take these things as a starting point and see what works for you, what doesn't. So if one of these things you're not happy with it, you feel like it doesn't work, you don't have to just give up the whole thing. I would recommend you to understand everything and see how it translates into your own game. I was tilting back in the day a lot, actually. Although I'm not the type of person who stresses out, I was stressing out like crazy in game. Let's start with we've already talked about last session. We talked about the self-suggestion and all these. This is one of these mental routines that you can do. And like self-suggestion is basically just making yourself say, or even better, believe that you have a good chance of doing something. You don't have to be delusional, you know. You don't have to say that, okay, I have to win this now or something like that. No, it's just focus on the part of the game or the moment that is the positive outcome. It's basically like a choice, self-suggestion. You can either do positive self-suggestion or negative self-suggestion. And I would bet that you actually do self-suggestion in a more negative way than positive way, especially when you are on tilt, you know? So you say, oh, this is terrible. I'm not having a good time, and these teammates are absolute garbage. And so, you know, you will perceive more of what you believe is happening. And if you believe like, okay, these guys, you know, they need a strong carry, and I'm going to do my best to aid them. I will give them information, and they will support me and give me information back. Then you will perceive more of that part. So you will hear more information. You will not be stuck in the thought of, you know, resentment that you queued and etc. And that can be like game changing. Like it can literally change your whole perspective. Basically, for any of these little, like, how do you call these little techniques? Like, you don't have to be able to do them. You have to be able to recognize if you're not doing it or if you're doing it wrong. Because that is also very impactful. If you recognize that, okay, I have a narrative in my head that is very negative, and if you just recognize that and stop that narrative, that can be super impactful. So the second thing is, this is more face it, like normal queue or 5v5 premium. If you win a game, you can instantly queue. And you can go and play instantly. But if you lose a game, especially a game that you were emotionally invested in, but I actually have realized that me personally, I had a tough time recognizing which games I was emotionally invested in. So I just do this every time I lose. I just wait at least 5 minutes, but more 10 minutes. So after every loss, I just wait 5 to 10 minutes and maybe even preferably stand up from the computer and, you know, walk around the house, maybe eat some snack or it doesn't matter. Just don't dwell on the previous experiences, you know? You can think about them, but don't think about them in only a negative way, you know? So that's one that's actually really, really important, because I see a lot of people who just queue and even if they lose, they just insta queue, and this is how they can they can manage. I've had a guy who had a 15 losing streak in 2 days, and it was just crazy. Like, Yeah, so this is an important part of you know, realizing that you need to take a break after losses. You can't just go on forever, even if you have if you have a very strong mind. Even then, it is just better because you will be less fatigued. But if you win, you have the momentum with you, and with the momentum, when you insta queue for the next game, that will carry you on. And the momentum can be extremely important in CS. So when you're winning, you don't need to take a break. On the other hand, if you're like barely winning, like in a quad overtime, and you feel like shit, you're tilted, your teammates carried you, yeah, absolutely, you should take a break, you know? So it's not completely black and white, but in general, just wait after every loss and just requeue after the win if you want to play more. So a third thing is just, I'm sure you've heard of this. Obviously, everybody does visualization, and this is something that is relevant or linked to self-suggestion. And I mean, it took a while for me to realize this. So when you visualize stuff, sometimes you don't even realize it. And what I've noticed with myself is when I would think about a map, for example, let's say I was taking a break in this summer, but I was still playing in an ESCA team. You know, I was just playing with them, just playing out the season so we don't lose intermediate. And so we were just playing the officials. And before the games, I didn't play on Faceit, I didn't watch streams, nothing. What I did, in the games I performed well, I just imagined the map and just sort of got every part of it into my head, and it actually it was crazy. Like, it actually worked, and I was able to be more confident in game and more aware of other people's positions and stuff like that. So another way of visualization is when you're playing and you get a call from somebody. So someone says, maybe on overpass, for example, okay guys, let's take a middle, you know? So you think about, you know, throwing a Molotov and peeking and probably dying to a mid rush, you know, or something like that, because this guy has no idea how to play, etc., etc. And so that is also a negative self-suggestion, and is also very toxic. So every time you have these sort of thoughts, you see yourself not thriving in any sort of a strategy, you need to recognize that, and you need to change that to either positive thinking or just don't think about it. But it's obviously best to just visualize yourself immediately after that in an environment where you do succeed and you do get the kill on the mid rush, you get a spray down or something, you know, even though it's not likely that you will, but it helps with your, you know, mental, I don't know how to say this, like readiness. So when there is a mid rush and you are about to get overwhelmed, you won't be like, oh, this is what I saw, come on, this was a shit call. You will be like, okay, it's time to, you know, do the spray down, and you will be ready to do that. This might be the most personality dependent thing on this list I wrote, but just being able to not listen to your teammates is very important. Just not listen to them. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, like it always comes back when I play a lot and I you know, feel the game. You know the feeling, right? When you just play and you're starting to get a good feel of the game, like what's gonna happen now. You understand the meta better. Yeah, you just have a feel, right? You know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So in these situations, maybe you have a teammate on Faceit or whatever on a hub who would be actually a more experienced player, or maybe not a more experienced player, maybe just a guy who thinks he's better than you because of the scoreboard or whatever, and he would say, do this or do that. And what I have noticed, at least with myself, if I listen to them, I will stop thinking and I will start listening, you know? Your thought process will be, well, not halted, but it will be affected by his information. And it for me, it is a very destructive thing. And I always try, and it's very hard, but I always try to have a cutoff line where, for example, if I'm in a clutch and somebody says an info, like, it's not like it's a relevant information, it's something that I can hear. For example, you're on dust 2 middle, CT middle, behind the doors, and you hear a guy jump off Xbox, and somebody says one mid, you know, and I'm like, okay, I'm not even listening. Like, I'm actively, at that point, I'm actively trying to focus on the game and just not even listening to what they have to say. So that is one thing that can really, really help. And this can also help when you're on tilt. So when somebody is on tilt, you can just mute your whole team, and it does help, like with your performance. They might kick you for it, and there, like, that might happen, but just muting the whole team, or if you feel like you're not comfortable with their communications, you can just mute the team for 1 or 2 rounds. And actually, when I was playing Face It, I have done this, and just muting them for a few rounds actually changed a lot of, like, things. So after a few rounds, obviously I unmuted them because I would get kicked if I if I was solo queue, but that did help me, and I think it might help you as well. One of the last of these little tactics is, obviously, when you, by the way, this is just important here, when you're on tilt, just recognizing that you are tilted is you're already on a good path to being untilted. So don't be, like, discouraged in case you get tilted and you recognize it, because you are already making progress to not being untilted. You understand?
Yeah.
You're halfway there, basically. A good what is this called? An exercise, I guess. It's not really an exercise. A good thought to have when you're on tilt is just think you are where your feet are. This is something I've heard in actually I will send you, by the way, a bunch of resources that you can, you know, start your own research and stuff that did help me actually develop a stronger mental attitude towards the game. And I've heard this from, I think, EG's sport psychologist. He suggested this thing, and it actually works for me, at least. So just thinking you are where your feet are, and not worrying about in-game stuff, not worrying about whatever is around you, and just focusing on yourself, that can help as well. So that is another, like, little exercise that you can do in case you are tilted or about to be tilted. That actually works better, I think, when you are about to be tilted and you just want to calm down quickly. And obviously there are a lot of stuff that you might not realize. These might not be actually related to psychology that much, but they are super important. So first things first, warming up your hands, incredibly important. I'm gonna actually send this right. No, never mind. Here it is. This one I have been doing before every official. Not every day, just before every official, because if you do this every day, your hand will start hurting, at least for me, because you over strain it with these. This is a really good exercise to do, like, 2 times a week, maybe even 3. And it does improve your aim, like, actually improves your aim and consistency. Another thing is just, like, building your confidence, because warming up your hands like this will give you more confidence, since your hands will be just more flexible when it's time to aim, you know. So another thing with building confidence is good posture, and this is not something that is easy to develop. But if you just want to have quick results, every time you're playing badly, just realize that you're playing badly. Even you might not be on tilt, and that's good, but you're still playing badly, And what you should do is just sit up in your chair and have good posture, and it will help you to get back into the flow of the game, if you know what I mean, to be more confident, to be more willing to take action. So that is super impactful. Okay, another thing is again coming back to self-suggestion here with building confidence, and how you combine these two is basically you think about why do you deserve to compete well, why do you deserve to top frag, what did you do 1,000 bots last night or something like that, and this is very dangerous because you can get into the thought process of, okay, Xantares gets 1,000 deathmatch kills a day. Okay, he's a really good player. I want to be like him, and you're like, okay, maybe I should get 1,000 deathmatch kills a day. This is not the thing that you should be thinking about. You should leave all that outside of your place, because he's a completely different player. He needs different. He's in a different environment. He's on a different level, and everything is completely different for him. And just focus on yourself, Don't compare yourself to other players. Not just in this regard, but in many regards, you shouldn't compare yourself to other players. Yeah, so thinking about why you deserve to compete well. Could you maybe say an example of for example, when you would play a game after this session, why would you compete well? What would be a good reason for you to be
why?
Yeah.
Because over this past week, I've been playing a lot of TS and practicing.
Yeah, great.
And I think that should be better. Showing my game that I'm playing better than before.
Yeah, so you've been practicing, and it and you can put the practice into play,
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. And yeah, thinking about this will help you, to start off with a good, especially early game. This can help, or if you feel like you're not bringing your impact into the game, maybe you're not on tilt again, but you're maybe bottom fragging, maybe you're being micromanaged or something. Or okay, if you are being micromanaged, just I would like to point out that you should lock out the guy who is micromanaging you, and maybe try to find new ways to gain an advantage, and maybe listen to his general idea, but don't let him control you completely, because that is a very bad way to play. Just a quick note there. Okay, so back to building confidence. Another thing with confidence is consistency. So if you want to be confident, you have to be consistent, because the two things are basically, they are the same. If basically consistency is, what it is, I don't have to explain that, or confidence, but basically confidence is just being comfortable. And if you're on a different level every game you play in, you're not gonna be comfortable. You're not gonna know what you're capable of. So yeah, being able to prepare for a game, or being able to warm up in the same manner, will help you reach better consistency, and that will help you be more confident in yourself in game. So that is again an important thing, to have a consistent warm-up routine, just the same thing. And also don't have a super long warm-up routine. Some people have 1 hour long warm-up routines, and it's crazy, because you should practice after the games, or after you have already done you're focusing in game, not before, because if you do it before, like if you do a 1 hour deathmatch routine, you will be just burning your focus off before you even get to play. So just do 10-15 minutes of warming up tops, unless you're learning a new gun, like you want to op, maybe you want to, unless you have a very specific thing that you need to work on, just 10-15 minutes is more than enough. It is enough to show yourself that you have a capable aim, it is enough to stretch your hand. And yeah, basically that's all you need, because warming up isn't about, practicing. It's two completely different things. So just want to add that it's the same for not being able to focus. It's completely the same process. If you are in game and you feel like you're not focusing, you're already halfway there. And many times when you're not tilt, you're not performing well, but you're again not on tilt or anything like that. You might be having issues focusing. You might be having issues, reaching the flow state,
That is an issue. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what the flow state is?
Flow state?
Yeah.
Not really, no.
It's like a super focused state that helps you like compete better at one thing.
Okay. How do I get to that state?
Like when for example, a musician would play a longer song, and you would be in that state to be able to perform without being incredibly stressed out in front of an audience, or the same for most performers. So yeah, if you want to reach this state, I'm sure you have experienced this before, so I'm just gonna tell you how it exactly feels like. It feels like everything is super easy and you're just owning everybody. Basically, when you play a normal game of Face It, for example, and it feels like you're playing against bots, but when you press tab, you're the only guy who's fragging,
Mm-hmm.
Chances are it might be that other people, let's say you have a live game or stuff like this, and you do get lucky because your decision making isn't like limited by your own habits, so it's actually faster. But basically flow state is like being completely effortless and performing on 100% basically at the same time. So you're not burning excess energy, but you're performing at the top of your abilities. But yeah, that's a pretty good definition. So if you want to reach this state, well, there are a few ways. For me, it comes in two ways. Have you had like I don't know, university finals or something like that? Like something that is so important that you have 100% focus on it, And it is not an effortless focus, but it's still full focus. So one way I achieve flow state when I'm not focused is I am 100% committed to playing and just incredibly try hard. Like, and not try hard in my actions, but I'm like, okay, I'm only going to focus on the game now. Holy shit, I'm not focusing. I'm just gonna give everything I have from my mind, and I'm gonna focus 100%. And what happens is, after maybe 2, 3, 4 minutes, it just kicks in, and I feel that I don't need to focus as hard anymore, but I'm still in game. I'm still in the game. I'm still playing the same way, but I'm not burning so much energy as before. And when you do this, your hyper focus or whatever, when you're like super try hard focusing, you will not be 100%, and you will be burning a lot of like mental energy. I don't know what it's called. So you will be like giving up a lot of mental energy, but it does lead to the flow state. If you can keep it up, if you can focus for maybe 2 or 3 rounds in game, it will eventually kick in, at least in my experience. Yeah, so that's that. And yeah, for the traditional way to reach this flow state is basically you need to be in a comfortable environment, and that's it. Like if you're in a comfortable environment, you will reach the flow state eventually. Like that, at least that's what I've heard. So, and I do think that is true. And but like by a comfortable environment, like I mean, you have no distractions in game or outside of the game, and you're not feeling any problematic things. Like you're not tired, your eyes aren't hurting or whatever. Like absolutely nothing. And you can basically fake your way to this a little bit, but just a little bit. Like just ignoring stuff, ignoring maybe a few comments from teammates, like just shrugging off something that you saw after you died, that like a stupid play your teammate did, and just not focusing on it, and just being super how do you call it? Just being super loose in general. It will help you reach flow state. So that's the keyword here. Just being loose and being comfortable. Yeah. So that's that. And again, one more like thought is if you want to have better focus, it's just meditate and do breathing exercises. These are the two, like bottom line. That like this is how you fix your focus. If you have a short attention span or something like that, if you do meditation, yeah, it will help a lot. Like it did help a lot for me. It is very hard to do meditation and just keep it. Like I tried doing meditation twice a day, and it's just incredibly hard to have as a routine. But if you can keep it, it will not just help in game. I mean, none of these things I'm telling you will only help you in Counter-Strike. This will all help you in real life as well, and in other games, in other tasks, I guess, in the game of life. But yeah, these are my pillars. These are what I build my mental game on. And I don't think I left out anything. Yeah, if you have any questions about this. And I also want to know what type of problems do you see yourself having in game? Like let's say if we didn't have this conversation and you just kept playing.
Okay, well, a lot of the time when I play, I do lose focus, and I just get distracted very easily. And I don't know, like I start thinking like random thoughts just come to my head, and I can't fully focus into the game sometimes. So that reduces my performance quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Do you think about the game, or do you think about just anything?
Or like just anything, just random thoughts keep going to my head. Oh, after this game, I'm gonna do this. Oh, I've still got work to do for my university, and then while I'm playing the game, and I just can't fully get into the game sometimes. As I just play like autopilot, but without thinking. Yeah, it's like
you are still thinking about the outside world instead of thinking about what is going on in game, right?
Yeah, basically.
For me, this happens when I neglect stuff that is needed to be taken care of first before I can play.
Okay, that is true.
Only way I can fix that is just being super hard on myself and just doing it. Because, I like that's the way to do that. Because even if you meditate, you focus, you do all these mental exercises, you will not be. I don't know how to make this not sound like super hip, but like you will not be in peace with your own mind. You will be arguing with yourself, no matter how hard you focus or whatever, no matter how long you meditate. If you don't do, for example, a set goal you set that day, if you set a goal or something and you put CS on top of it like a blanket, it will really hurt your like in-game performance, you know? So don't use it as a coping mechanism, I guess, like not coping mechanism, like just having fun, coping mechanism, like hiding from your own tasks,
Okay, that makes sense actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So what else? Like you said, you have been losing focus, but
Yeah, that's. I would say that's like the main thing. Like
is
I
it
can't
by
just
far
get,
the biggest?
well, and like tilting. Like when I see the game isn't going well, I just think, oh my god, we're gonna lose. What's the point of playing?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Like we're losing like 10-1, and I'm like, okay, what's the point of wasting this time? Just get over done with. I don't try to like come back, especially when I have teammates that don't communicate well. And I think that after I lose the game, I'm like, oh my god, I get tilted, but then I keep queuing, I keep playing more because I want to win, and then like the same cycle happens again and again, and then it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, for the requeuing, obviously we talked about don't
Yeah.
requeue. For the like being down 10-1 and stuff like this, again, I can only give you examples from my perspective, what I did, or what I used to do when I was playing a lot of Face It. So something that's worked for me really well is just thinking like in a like a sarcastic way, like, okay, there's no way we're coming back, and like there's no way, like if we come back from here, we are like so good, like being down. I remember being down 13-1 with 4 guys, a Russian pre-made 2 who were communicating in game with in Russian, and 2 Turkish guys who were trolling these Russian guys. And I was so I was like, okay, like these guys, 2 of them are trolling, 2 of them are shouting at them, and we are 13-1. If we win this game, like we are fucking lit. We are the best players. And actually we won that game. It was an overpass, and we managed to win it in overtime. And yeah, just making a challenge out of coming back will will create new motivation for you, because at that point you are not looking to win the game, but you can always see how far you can come back from, and always try to see, okay, can we come back, or there's no way we're coming back from this, right? But let's try it anyway to see, because if you do come back, it's gonna feel amazing. Like, what the fuck just happened? It's the craziest feeling, coming back from like 10-1 and you're winning the game in regulation. It's a very, very good feeling. So that's what you should think about. Again, this comes towards like positive self-suggestion, but this is a very niche stuff. So you're looking for the little challenge, but you're looking for a new challenge. You're not looking to win anymore. You're looking to come back. It's different, You're not expecting the win anymore, That's the difference. You're expecting to lose, and you're hoping that you can come back, but it's not just hope, it's like excitement, like can we do it, can I do it, how many rounds can I clutch before my teammates like throw it in a way that is not winnable for me anymore, or something like this. Helps to make it more fun, even if you're like losing or down a few rounds. But if you're down like late game, if you're down or up 1 or 2 rounds, or the game is very close, again, for me, I just don't like to look at the score, because it gets me out of that flow state, and it's not good. I don't like to look at the score. I do like to look at the scoreboard, but just as far as like, am I doing okay? Am I top 1 or 2, or am I like on the bottom? I don't really read the stats or anything.
And yeah, speaking about the stats, that is a problem sometimes.
Like seeing yourself perform badly?
Like, even if I'm like, yeah, well, I'm like, I compare myself, how good I'm playing, to how many kills I have. And that's not good.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean,
but like,
yeah,
it's
not the same. I know it's hard to understand, but you can top frag.
Yeah, I know it's, yeah, I know it's not the same, but it's like just sometimes hard to like get that mindset away. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, sure. I exactly know when you're supporting too much and well, just hunting ecos can help to help your ego a little bit with this. Just especially since you're on face it, you're pugging, you can go after the enemy eco rounds, and I think you do actually go after the eco rounds. Other than that, seeing how you can come back, basically that's what you want to be thinking about. Okay, am I bottom fragging? How bad is it? I have my own set of rules, basically. Like I obviously I have played a shit ton of games. Like I already know, like if I have a bad game, I'm gonna have about 11 12 kills, like the worst games possible, or maybe 10 kill games. If I kill less than 10 guys, there is something wrong. Either my hardware, I'm micro lagging. There was one time my I didn't realize my table was bent and I changed my mousepad position and I was playing in a fucking how do you call it, in a valley, and my mouse movements were
yeah.
and or something like that. My monitor is on 60 hertz, something like that. So I can already tell if I have like 10 kills. Yeah, that's just a bad game. If I have like I don't know, 5 kills after the first half, I'm like, okay, how am I gonna make this like an average game for me? Like, how can I have a good half next round or next half, so I can come back? But I'm not. I'm no longer looking to carry. You know, I'm no longer looking to top frag. I might carry the half, but I'm not carrying the whole game anyway, because it's the half is over. You don't have to think about the past. That is super important. And the same with the self-suggestion. Like you said, your aim is inconsistent. Let's say you are in a fight and you whiff a huge like triple spray down and nobody's looking at you. And if you're thinking about that the next round, that will affect your next round and your round after that, because you are thinking about that opportunity you took and you didn't manage to, make it. So yeah, super important not to do that. And yeah, it's just important to set some, how do you fucking mind games and the mental preparations and all this is what we're gonna basically be discussing today. And please ask a lot of questions. I want you to understand these things. There are these little tactics that you can use, and you can just take these things as a starting point and see what works for you, what doesn't. So if one of these things you're not happy with it, you feel like it doesn't work, you don't have to just give up the whole thing. I would recommend you to understand everything and see how it translates into your own game. I was tilting back in the day a lot, actually. Although I'm not the type of person who stresses out, I was stressing out like crazy in game. Let's start with we've already talked about last session. We talked about the self-suggestion and all these. This is one of these mental routines that you can do. And like self-suggestion is basically just making yourself say, or even better, believe that you have a good chance of doing something. You don't have to be delusional, you don't have to say that, okay, I have to win this now or something like that. No, it's just focus on the part of the game or the moment that is the positive outcome. It's basically like a choice, self-suggestion. You can either do positive self-suggestion or negative self-suggestion. And I would bet that you actually do self-suggestion in a more negative way than positive way, especially when you are on tilt, So you say, oh, this is terrible. I'm not having a good time, and these teammates are absolute garbage. And so, you will perceive more of what you believe is happening. And if you believe like, okay, these guys, they need a strong carry, and I'm going to do my best to aid them. I will give them information, and they will support me and give me information back. Then you will perceive more of that part. So you will hear more information. You will not be stuck in the thought of, resentment that you queued and etc. And that can be like game changing. Like it can literally change your whole perspective. Basically, for any of these little like, how do you call these little techniques? Like you don't have to be able to do them. You have to be able to recognize if you're not doing it or if you're doing it wrong. Because that is also very impactful. If you recognize that, okay, I have a narrative in my head that is very negative,